Would you rather spend money to give first responders a bonus so that they stay here in Nye County, or would you rather build a pandemic refuge center and change all the locks on our county buildings? Well, this decision was made for you by my fellow county commissioners, and it wasn't to help our fire and police. So here's the reason why I tried to get a first responder bonus passed at the last commission meeting. There's a crisis going on that no one told you about. Both our police and fire are only at about 75% of the amount of people that we're supposed to have. We have 52 unfilled police and fire positions out of 214 as of a month ago, which is very risky for anyone who expects an ambulance to show up when they call 911 or police to properly do their job. As a commissioner in Nye County, I have a duty to make sure that we're all protected, and that means to do things creatively to try and keep our law enforcement and fire personnel here and attract more. My plan to try to fix this was a one-time 2-year bonus for first responders. Take unused grant money to give first responders a $300 a month bonus. Would this help? The fire union and all 3 police unions said yes. This would help get our numbers up and make our first responders happy and make our community safer. If nothing else, it sends a message to our police and fire. We care about you. Please stick with us. But instead of bonuses for first responders to help solve this crisis, 3 of my fellow county commissioners said no to this plan for first responders. Instead, we've spent the same amount of money on court software and plans for a new pandemic refuge center, for example. Which is more important to you, a safe community that supports police and fire, or new computer software for lawyers and something called a pandemic refuge center? This is a dangerous game we're playing. We're losing police and firemen constantly. And my $1.1 million bonus to police and fire would not raise taxes. It would just spend a little more than half of the $2 million left that sits in an unused federal grant account in Nye County. Right now, this money is being spent on nothing. And in the next 2 years, we just hired another person full-time to work on grants. We would have 2 years to replace this grant funding to do the same thing again within the next 2 years. We've already spent about $10 million already on this fund. And in just the past few months, I want to show you how we've been spending money here in Nye County. $818,000 on the Tonopah Airport. $450,000 to change the locks on all the county buildings. $1.1 million on county cars and trucks. $600,000 on computer software for courts. $581,000 on plans for a new pandemic refuge center, and $632,000 on police cars last September. That's over $4 million spent in the last few months alone, and not a single county bureaucrat spoke out against it when it was passed. So let's see what happens when I try to spend a little over $1 million to keep our first responders happy and here at home. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few questions for this board. What's more important, our first responders or software for the court? Our first responders or plans for a building that may or may not be built? Our first responders or a new county-wide key system? Because all of these things I've mentioned, we've already spent more than what this initiative will spend on first responders. And when we did it, there was no opposition from bureaucrats who work for this county, no warnings about the cost, nothing. The First Responder Retention and Appreciation Act is a one-time expense. It will not raise taxes. It comes out of grant funding that we already have sitting unused. And I hope I'm not the only one up here who supports our first responder, who prioritizes our police, our fire over software and vehicles and building improvements. But soon we'll find out, Mr. Chairman. We have a problem getting and keeping first responders, and I'd like to share a few numbers. In the months prior to myself taking office, 33 people applied to work at an open position at the animal shelter. Then 51 people applied shortly thereafter for the same position, and when the animal shelter had 2 kennel assistants, there was a total of 96 applicants. And the recent office assistant position saw 43 applicants. During that same time, we had deputy sheriff positions that hadn't been filled in years. We don't have this problem in other areas of county government. If I quit this job today, which pays about $14 an hour full-time, there will be a half a dozen people spending their own money in an effort to replace me. We don't have this problem for commissioners. Unfortunately, no one, or maybe fortunately, no one sitting up here will be driving any ambulances, and no one sitting up here will stop an assault at the Dairy Queen parking lot. While this initiative doesn't fix the problem entirely, it goes a long way in showing our first responders how important they are to us. Bonuses to first responders who are under union contracts is nothing new. ARPA, a very similar federal funding program that we blew through millions of dollars here at this board, has funded police bonuses for union police officers in Dodge County, Nebraska, retention bonuses for union detention center employees in Greenwood County, South Carolina, and cash assistance to union public safety employees in Pittsylvania County, Virginia, among many, many other places, without any labor relations issues, or, from what I can gather, any kind of comment at all from the union. And this is all in the last handful of years. This LATCF directive itself expressly mentions allowance of cash assistance, and that's exactly what this is. This is for 142 positions, and should anyone leave, they will forfeit whatever assistance they have not used, and the new hire will step in their shoes to take over assistance, and I'll be making a motion to include that language. What that means is that new first responders will get the cash assistance as long as the total number isn't over 142, and of course no first responder will ever be asked to pay anything back to the county. Now it's time to show our first responders that we care about them, and they're as important as building plans or new keys for doors in buildings. All of the unions that are affected right over there at that table have all signed letters of support. Mr. Chairman, I urge my colleagues for passage, and I thank you for consideration.
I think one thing that does bother me about this.
So I just want to make everyone aware that
I do want to point out that.
So this is not fair. It's not fair to the county employees.
The wording on the action requested on the agenda item says discussion and deliberation to consider the first response. What does that mean, consider?
I would like to hear.
Mr. Chair?
Oh.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, DA.
I think one thing that does bother me about this is that we seem to be completely neglecting the volunteer first responders that we have in other jurisdictions. It's not my understanding that they would get any money out of this.
So I just want to make everyone aware that this does dwindle down our LATCF down to 752,600 since our last meeting.
I do want to point out that we do need to keep in mind NRS 288, which is collective bargaining. And although 288 does not prohibit the Board of County Commissioners from deciding to increase any funding for the budget, what the county cannot do is unilaterally implement changes to wages, benefits, or other terms of conditions of employment without giving the unions advance notice and the right to request bargaining over these changes. So
The wording on the action requested on the agenda item says discussion and deliberation to consider the first response. What does that mean, consider? If someone were to make a motion to consider it, what does that do?
The agenda item simply defines the subject matter of what you're voting on. So consider is broad enough to allow you to vote to approve it or disapprove it. So I don't think it's unclear as to what the subject matter is or what the intent
Well, it's unclear
of the
to
action
me.
that could be taken.
It's unclear to me. That's why I'm asking the question.
But, yeah. I
Normally,
think,
normally it would say to approve or, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, thank you.
So this is not fair. It's not fair to the county employees. We have negotiated with the unions. We are well aware of what they do, what they don't do. And that's when we come in and we help and compliment and appreciate and agree to what these unions are presenting to us, their union reps through the county. So we are able to retain.
First of all, I am pleased that it's possible I could get the DA and a commissioner's support on the volunteer compensation package I'm working on right now, so thank you, and we'll be in touch on that. At this time, I would like to make a motion to pass item 11 as written with the inclusion of the following amendments. Number 1, with first responder being defined as the positions included in this item. Amendment number 2, should a first responder leave employment during the next 2 years, they will forfeit whatever unexercised or unused options, but they will not have to pay anything back to the county. And a new hire first responder will be able to exercise whatever option they would like, standing in the shoes of the leaving first responder, as long as funds are available in accordance with this item. Should there not be, then the new hire first responder will have a diminished amount of benefit according to whatever funds are still available. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Hearing no other second, I will second this because I want to hear how this vote goes. We have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Yay.
Moskowitz is
nay.
aye. That fails 3-2.
I'm Ian Bayne, and I authorize this message.